welcome back to Kevin Reviews. I just finished rewatching Fantastic Four, 2005's Fantastic Four. This is by 20th Century Fox or 20th Century Studios, including Constantin Film and Marvel Enterprises or Marvel Entertainment. Directed by Tim Story, written by Mark Frost and Michael France. And the cast includes Ioan Gruffudd, Jessica Alba, Michael Chiklis, Chris Evans, and Julian McMahon. So I think people already know that we have that from the Fantastic Four did not have a great start in in media other than maybe some animated TV series, but in terms of film, it wasn't hitting the mark. That is until we finally get a more faithful and better version of Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four: The New Steps in 2025. So, but yeah, it's interesting looking back on this because there is some surreal stuff when rewatching this again. Particularly from seeing Chris Evans, because he will later go become Captain America in the Marvel MCU and Avengers and whatnot. So that's pretty surreal, and as well as another film involving Deadpool and Wolverine. Um, so there's that, and but for the most part for this one, it's sequel. And 2015's, I'm sorry, I didn't know if my microphone was on. But 2015's Fantastic Four, or Fan Four Stick, as most people call it, is considered the worst of the Fantastic Four films. And while I haven't seen it yet, I would probably agree with that, regardless. But this one does come pretty close as kind of the worst, not probably the is it the worst of the Marvel films I have seen? Kind of. I don't think it's like god awful. I think it's more like it's a complete shrug or just complete waste of time. I'm sure kids would probably at least enjoy it for what it is, especially back then. But yeah, it definitely doesn't hold up very well. I'm probably getting too ahead of myself. The also reason why I'm reviewing this, and I mean during December, I mean granted there's Christmas stuff. Again, I don't often like to watch certain stuff multiple times. Like especially, I don't want to. I've already reviewed recently Elf and Fred Claus. I don't really want to see another Christmas movie till maybe next week. So to kind of help refresh fresh my mind a bit. So at times I will switch to Marvel because A, I want to catch up, and B, because there's some news happening where it was announced that Avengers Endgame is going to be coming back to theaters for a limited release. So that might be exciting. That might be exciting. I've seen Avengers Endgame in theaters, so I mean, it would be kind of fun to see it again in theaters. But you got to play kind of catch up. But then comes the catch up. You got to rewatch the Marvel films and before seeing Avengers Endgame. And you know what? I hope people would go see this in theaters, because it was the best thing to see in theaters. Really, I know I'm getting off topic here, but I kind of want to emphasize that if you have any interest in seeing Endgame and have not seen any of the other Marvel films before Endgame, that's anything that's from Iron Man to Avengers Endgame, then that I would say watch those before the movie comes back to theaters, because I don't think you'll be that disappointed. Regardless, but yeah, so another reason like I'm trying to do the Marvel films and overall, I forgot to mention, I'm hoping more people go see it so James Cameron's Avatar can be knocked down from its pedestal as the highest grossing film of all time, because now Marvel Avengers Endgame is second. It was first for a time, and then James Camp and then that move and of Avatar re-released and got more money because of that. And granted, now that was before COVID, stuff happened. So I don't know how well exactly Endgame's gonna really do, but you know, go out and see it when you can, because I honestly would think this is better than Avatar in terms of story and just how it concludes and stuff. It's so much better, to be perfectly honest. So I don't, again, in regards to Avatar, I don't exactly hate Avatar, but I mean I'll get to it when eventually. But again, I'm sorry for going off topic there. But yeah, let's get on my review for Fantastic Four 2005. So the story in Fantastic Four, I think many people already know. Reed Richards, Ioan Gruffudd, Sue Storm, played by Jessica Alba, Johnny Storm, played by Chris Evans, and Michael Chiklis, playing Ben Grimm, are basically, get it. They take a trip up to space where they're investigating a cosmic radiation storm that they wanted to investigate, and they're also getting the help of Victor Von Doom, played by Julian McMahon. And something goes wrong with the mission, and they're hit by the radiation storm, which changes their DNA. Now Reed is very stretchy, elastic. Sue Storm can turn invisible and create force fields. Johnny Storm can turn his whole body on fire and even fly. And 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 Ben Grimm becomes the Thing with this giant heavy rock monster. Um, so that's the story. They're also they're trying to find a cure for themselves while also dealing with fame and publicity, as well as Ben Grimm going through his transformation. And then of course behind the scenes we have Doctor Doom that went through the radiation storm himself, and now he wants to get his revenge on the Four. So that's pretty much the gist of it. There's not a ton of like story or details. And rewatching again, it's a bore. I haven't having not seen the Fan Four Stick in 2015. I would say this is the worst of the Fantastic Four movies, because the main thing is this is supposed to be called Fantastic Four, and throughout the movie, there's only two action scenes. One on a bridge that technically Ben Grimm caused, no villain, nothing, and the ending where they fight Doctor Doom. Other than that, all they do for the majority of the film is explore their powers and sometimes abuse it, particularly for Johnny Storm's character. Um, it's often played as silly or fun. Sometimes it takes it seriously, particularly from Ben Grimm's point of view. Um, everything else, it's a bore. And even Doctor Doom, as supposed, obviously because his name is Von Doom. Um, Granted, I think in a way that the name could be changed nowadays. I could be, but I doubt Stanley would be appreciative of that. Um, you know, but frankly, yeah, even Julian McMahon, I think as Victor Von Doom is kind of really underplayed a bit, and even not. It's not even he's not even the like the comic book character, the actual comic book villain. Um, but in any case, yeah. Well, I mean, let's get as to why he's not a good comic book villain, because they made Doctor Doom a businessman. Granted, they have him at from Latveria, which that's where Victor Von Doom is from, but they just made him more of a corporate businessman corporate business bad, and hence why his name is Victor Von Doom, Doom Industries and stuff like that. And it, you know, even kids who probably know the term Doom can obviously pinpoint that Victor Von Doom is evil. Even there's even a moment where we see Doctor Doom in shadow. He's supposed to be very evil, and especially with the music background indicating he's evil. It's you know I know he's a character in the past. I think I remember even watching Doug Walker's review on this movie particularly because yeah, he wasn't a fan the fact that you know we have a character named Victor Von Doom. That's his name. So obviously he has to be evil because he has the name Doom. So it's yeah, whatever. I mean, in a way, it's kind of a catchy name, regardless. But and I know technically we have, you know, the eventually Avengers Doomsday coming up. Um, so whatever. Maybe they'll. I mean, they're obviously making some changes for that for the Victor Von Doom character. So in any case, yeah, I think Julian McMahon could have. I think did okay, but but overall, the script and the story are the main problem. The story, especially because they don't really do anything superhero related. Um, to, for majority of the film, the writing doesn't help their characters. Some of it's pretty cheesy. Oftentimes, describing the characters like Victor Von Doom's telling Reed that he's good old Reed stretching for the stars, and that's very cheesy. Um, there's a lot of cheesy lines in this. I almost want to compare this film, and this may not be fair to compare, but because it's definitely nowhere in that realm of the movie other movies I'm comparing this film to. But it's like watching Batman Forever or Batman and Robin. It's nowhere near the realm, but it feels like it. It is a pretty silly film, and considering what we have before with you know, aside from Spider-Man, um, that more or less takes itself seriously, it's 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 been mostly very serious, brooding serious at times. So now we have more of a lighthearted, kind of kiddish friendly superhero film that it's supposed to attract all ages. Um, so, but yeah, there's just not a lot to really like about this movie because of the writing, the story, how they treated the characters. I mean, going back to Doom, in the comics, he's supposed to be, he got his face scarred because a machine that he built blew up and in his face, and he was scarred. I mean, technically he was fine, but he didn't like seeing the scars. In this one, he gets hit by the same radiation storm that turns his body into like metal. Um, so and later in the comics, he actually he uses technology. He also studies mysticism, um, and there's even a part I remember. I didn't read it, but I heard about it, where he takes it upon himself to build a machine to go to hell to rescue his mother, a gypsy woman, from rescue her soul and save her from damnation for eternity. So it's interesting. Um, yeah, for the most part, Doom is kind of like you know just a businessman overall. What about the other characters? I mentioned so much of Doom. I apologize. Um, I don't. I will say I like Michael Chiklis. I mentioned this in my Fantastic Four: The First Steps. I think Michael Chiklis is a pretty good Ben Grimm thing. Um, yes, the costume looks rubbery, but I at least it looks realistic enough versus the First Steps where it's pretty much CG. And I'm sure it's much prettier there, but it's not. But there's something just to rely on practical effects, even though you can't get away with so much action for the practical effects. And I also like the fact they changed his voice, and they changed the voice in the thing to make it more gravelly versus the thing, Ben Grimm's thing that kind of doesn't really change at all. Even when saying the catchphrase, it's clobbering time, it doesn't feel like it belongs to the thing in that one versus this one where it kind of did. So I don't know. I like the idea of exploring the Ben Grimm's story of this transforming into this monster, and having to you know, deal with it because unlike the other three, he can't change back, and he's become like a monster that ended his marriage. Even I gotta pause. I'm sorry. Stupid time limit. Any case, yeah, Ben Grimm. I think a lot of that is the strength of Ben Grimm. His turmoil, the time, even one moment where he talks to Sue, um, you know, how he wishes he was invisible is very strong. Um, is very strong, and overall, and he does have some funny moments too. Um, Ioan Gruffudd as Reed Richards, I think does pretty good. Granted, when I originally also reviewed Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four First Steps, I did say Ioan Gruffudd. I think I like more because he has more personality. He has more. He's more upbeat. He's more engaging, you know, and whatnot. Whereas Pedro Pascal is more reserved and closed off. And I understand where they're getting at with that particular character, but I don't know. I kind of prefer this Reed in a way. But again, I wish the script helped them better. Um, Jessica Alba, I haven't seen a ton of films that she's been in. I think she was in a movie called Blue Crush. I don't remember. Or no, it was Into the Blue, I think it was. Um, but in any case, she's just there to look pretty. There isn't a ton of character for, character done. She's just there to look pretty. And even the film kind of glorifies that. Like there's quite a bit of makeup, I think, on her. And the fact there are moments where she has to get stripped naked, whether or not she's invisible. Um, just a couple moments, not a ton of moments, but there are moments where she has to strip naked. And from what I read, Jessica Alba, while she didn't mind working on on the film and wanted to be Sue Storm. She was embarrassed and feel like humiliated just to strip down to her bra and panties just for that scene alone, for a couple of scenes alone. So yeah, I feel bad for Jessica Alba. I mean, I don't like I said, I don't know if I've seen her in a lot of movie roles to really say she's that great of an actress here. And in this one, I don't think she's that great of an actress here. But again, I don't know what she did that got her, stardom. And it just, frankly, she just looks like she's trying, just the pretty girl. Even was told to do a sexy cry, for the camera. So yeah, it's not. Yeah, I don't know if I don't think I fully put the blame on Jessica Alba, but I don't. But yeah, it's not a good Sue Storm, um, compared to what we got in Fantastic Four: The First Steps. Then we got um, Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, and it's pretty surreal to see Chris Evans as Johnny Storm because if he wasn't Captain America in the first film and he wasn't in Deadpool and Wolverine, um, then I would find his character very obnoxious, but it is part of Johnny Storm's character, which in a way works. And, but he at least still shows some concern for his sister, but he has, that he has to wisecrack at times for it, as well as his team, the team. So, I mean, there's that. Um, the effects are not very good. Um, I think especially a lot of the effects for how they had to work with Reed Richards' stretchiness, it doesn't hold up very well. There's even a scene involving where he gets frozen, um, and it just looks like really bad makeup um, on him. So I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, it's 2005, so I mean, I probably would cut it some slack, but it just did not age well at all. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else that is worth talking about, or frankly, I think that's it. I think that's it overall. You know, I think there are things I wish they kind of explored on because, um, frankly, the film likes to exposition a lot of like their history as you know because there is history supposed to be history between all four, and I'm going to include Doctor Doom, Victor Von Doom himself, and we don't really see it. It's told it to us in exposition, and granted, that would have been a long movie. That would be a pretty long movie to make it make it a big deal. But in a way, I would think it's warranted, even if they could have kept. I apologize. If they had maybe start out like maybe say Reed and Victor Von Doom. I think even Ben Grimm that they went to college. All together. I mean, the scene where he blows, has a machine blows up in his face and stuff like that, and then years later, maybe we see him as a businessman. If that's what they really want to go for, then maybe that's warranted, or that helps solidify the relationship with all of them, including the relationship between Sue Storm and Johnny Storm, their relationship as brother and sister. But yeah, again, Sue Storm is just used you know as a love triangle piece for between Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom. So it's just there to look pretty, basically. So yeah, I mean, I think there could have been ways they could have made this a lot better and make this warrant a fantastic film, but it does not. And the fact, because there isn't a ton of action or action scenes where they become superheroes and they fight crime, no matter how small the crime is, um, it doesn't make this a worthwhile sit through. I think for that, I will give Fantastic Four 2005 1.5 star. It's a bore. It has moments, like I said. I think Michael Chiklis, Ioan Gruffudd's character, their characters, and I guess rewatching this again, I would say the surrealness of seeing Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, because we know later he becomes Captain America. Um, so that's pretty surreal. But everything else is is just boring. There's nothing fantastic about this movie at all. I would not recommend this. Um, but it did win. It did get enough money back to make a sequel. I mean, it from a $100,000 budget, I think, to gaining $330 million is quite impressive. But the reviews did not support in its favor. I think it's like 28% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics and 45% from audiences. So yeah, it didn't work in any favor. So yeah, I give this 1.5. Um, I wouldn't see it again. Why do I have it? I don't know, because got it for free from when our video store was closing down. So that's why I got it. I figured I'm getting all the Marvel films together because I have the MCU phase 1 through 3 already up. So it's like it's an interesting collection regardless. So yeah, that's it. I'm sorry I went off a little tangent there. But in any case, yeah, what are your thoughts on Fantastic Four, the 2005 Fantastic Four movie? Leave in the comments below, give a like, dislike the review if you wish. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys. Oh, yeah, click the notification bell so you can be updated on any future movie reviews that I do. And I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye.